Hi, well, it's been a few weeks since I've made a video. And as I said last summer, when I did the video about washing my feet and all that, I've really probably said everything that needs to be said. That basically shows what's happening. And I said that all of the information is available out there if you want to know what it is. If you want to know what's happening, you can study all of the issues yourselves and come to your own conclusions. And that's really the purpose of all of this that's been happening on this channel. Yes, I've been adamant about a few things because I realize the corruption and the deception and the murderous influences that are in various governments, but particularly this one in this country that's controlled also by outsiders. So I've been out of the loop for a little while for various reasons. As I said, I didn't really want to go back to making any kind of regular videos, and I'm going to abide by that now. But of course, there's been a number of things that have happened here of late. We know about the failure of the Obamacare website, questions about what its real intent is, certainly the destruction of our economy and of our society, despite the denials by those who support it. It's pretty obvious what it is. All you got to do is go on the website and answer the few questions that they have and find out what they're really after. Of course, the enforcement by the IRS and all of that shows really the demonic nature of this entire thing. Benghazi, of course, people have forgotten about that. We're still working on that at some point. New information is coming out, and those who are trying to give testimony, one nature or another, are being defamed. Kind of normal procedure when you're covering up crimes. Fast and Furious is still being used to try to justify gun legislation, infringements upon the Second Amendment, and hardly anybody saying, hey, you government guys, you violated your own laws, you violated the laws of a sovereign government, you've armed drug cartels. And the same thing with anti-terrorism laws. We've armed Al-Qaeda in Libya and in Syria, who knows where else, all to cause disruption and chaos, provide full spectrum dominance, control all sides, and make money and obtain power by the same. And I could go on and on. It's really frustrating, of course. We've had the shooting at LAX. A lot of people are saying it's a false flag. Of course, MSN, the mainstream media, is not really saying much about that. But I saw a picture of one of the victims that may have been supposedly the shooter. I'm not sure, being wheeled out on a wheelchair. Well, I'm not a doctor. I did receive EMT training. I know a little bit about serious traumas. And like in the Boston bombing, taking out a person who has received a severe trauma in a wheelchair is about the dumbest possible thing you can do. The blood leaves the head. When you're in shock, you need to stay horizontal to control blood pressure and other things. And both the guy in the Boston bombing who supposedly lost both legs there, no, I don't believe that. I think it happened before that. Him being wheeled away in a wheelchair is absurd. The shock alone would have killed him doing something like that. And now in this LAX shooting, we see a picture of a guy in a wheelchair being taken out who's obviously really out of it. But I'm wondering personally if those pictures that we received weren't from the exercise that they did at LAX about 2 weeks prior to that were being given those photographs of the wheelchair victim just as filler. You just never know with the mainstream media. They're more about, lying to you and having a story that they can paint than reporting the truth. So do I know that the LAX shooting was a false flag? No, but it's certainly being used again to justify. They make a hero out of TSA agents, and I don't know about you, but I don't think any of those TSA agents are heroes. As a matter of fact, no DHS agent, period, is a hero in my book. I think that they're on the border of, treasonous conduct and unlawful, under color of law, crimes. But that's, at this point, again, you all can decide on that. One of the disturbing things that I saw was the gay marriage between two men at West Point. Yes, the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. They weren't cadets, but they were able to use the facilities there, and an Army chaplain presided over it and performed the marriage. And I keep getting responses about this homosexual thing and that freedom and all of that. Yeah, it's freedom, but when societies do that, it's the mark of the end. And you don't have to believe that. If you don't want to, that's fine with me. It's not the new morality. It's not the political correctness. It's not trendy. When it's done out in the open like this, it's the mark of destruction of a society. So you can rest in all of the assurity that you want of how right it is to allow that and to celebrate it. But in the end, it's going to do the same thing to us that it's done to every other society. Nothing against homosexuals. I don't care what they do in their bedroom, but to do this openly is a sign of a destruction of society, historically and scripturally. I was going to provide the link to that, but frankly, I'm really not up to it. I did want to point out that, there's something in the New Testament that's really kind of key. And it's been going on to a lot of Christians around the world right now. In Syria, the United States, we had the Department of Defense come out and finally admit that this anti-Christian, that Christians are potential terrorists and all that. A lot of people were denying it. And then the Secretary of the Army had to come out publicly and say that they're going to stop that training, which of course admits that the training was going on. Well, all of you in the know who've been checking about this, you know what I mean. Are they going to stop the training? They'll just couch it in different semantic terms, but it'll still be there. Don't fool yourselves, because there is a worldwide war on Christianity. And if you believe the New Testament, and even the Old, you'll understand that anyone with the Spirit of God in their heart and in their mind, whether they're called a Christian or not, there's a war on those people in this world today. Christians by acts, not necessarily by name, is the way I like to look at it. Because the evil ones know by the fruits. Just like, as I said in one video, we should know by their fruits what they're up to. So, even in close associations in my personal life, and I see this dividing going along, this... from what I've said in the past, that I'm not really into the Christian dogma of if you're not accepting Jesus as your Savior, you're going to hell. No, I don't believe that, because receiving the light of Christ, receiving the light of truth in your heart is much better than merely pronouncing the name and saying you're saved by that. Because you have, just like in the Old Testament, They talked about the law all the time, that the law was the thing that was important, doing the law, the very particulars of the law. And they forgot that really what it was about was a change in the heart, that the law was supposed to bring about, the teacher. So Isaiah often talked about, you're doing all these oblations and sacrifices and all that, but you're not having a change in your heart that's supposed to come with these new understandings, these new levels of consciousness. I don't like to use New Age terms, but it kind of fits. So it's the same in understanding Jesus, and I brought about the situation about his brother James talking about that this is pure religion and undefiled before the Father, that you take care of the fatherless and the widows and the orphans, and in other words, the needy, and that you remain unspotted before the world. No mention of Jesus per se as a person. It's the light of that truth in your soul that wakes you up. And if you happen to meet the person that personifies, that's even better. But it's the change in the heart that matters. And a lot of Christians don't like it when I say that. But you'll probably find out that that's really what the issue is, just as it was in the Old Testament. Principles, not personalities. For those of us who are being, attacked for our Christian beliefs, and not just our Christian belief, but the belief that there is a spiritual system of right and wrong that should control our actions. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. Of course I'm not. No one is. We all fall short of the mark. All of us. But there are some things that really, really are bad and contribute to the corruption of society and our own moral fabric, our families, our communities. And I've stood up against those, as you know. But when you do that and you sound the voice of warning, again, I'm not saying that, I'm any spiritual leader. No, I can't fix anything. I'm not here to steady the ark. And that has not been my intent. I've often told you that things are coming down, and we just need to know that we're on, pick a side. What side are you going to be on? He who is warned, let him warn his neighbor. So I'm coming from a philosophical point of view and readiness. Certainly defend your families, yourselves, prepare, make food, water, spiritual readiness, all those things. But the real point is that it hasn't been to try to save the country or the world for that matter. That's not my job. That's God's job. Just do the best I can and warn people about the pitfalls of things, and including warning myself. Of course, we all fall short of the mark. But there are those who find fault with us, who accuse us of being Jesus followers, even though I'm not a Bible-thumping Jesus, I'm saved merely by saying his name. No, there has to be a change in the heart. There has to be a conscious decision to choose the light, seek it out. He who seeks and thirsts after righteousness, right? Not just a mere declaration of belief. And there are Christians, again, who are going to disagree with that, but I think most of you who have been following my channel know that that's my philosophy. But those of us who are doing that, be them Christians in Syria who are being killed and mutilated by those who demand that they adhere to the religion of the invaders, of the supposed rebels, or those in Africa, anywhere in the world, China, all the places that this has happened. Here it's a little more subtle, but it's no less indicative of the spirit that's here. Here we are, a nation, whether you want to argue about the fact that we were founded upon Christian principles, and there are pros and cons to that argument, I understand that. But the fact of the matter is it's been a staple of the people in this country as far as spiritual beliefs and the root of their religious ideas. And by the way, religion's an interesting word. Remember, the demons called themselves legion. In the word religion, you have religion, or rebinding yourself to the bad side. So that's why I don't use religion as a word much as far as describing my spiritual position. I like spirituality better. I don't want to belong to a religion, a grouping into a demonic. And I know a lot of you don't want to hear that, but anyway, I don't want to be part of that organization or even intimate it. But be that as it may, Christianity has been this foundation in this country, and now it's being reviled by the government. We can't say wife and husband if you work for the Department of Justice because you might offend a gay person, a homosexual. As a matter of fact, the fact that the word gay has become what it has is an indication of how ruthless this takeover has been of this mindset and where it has come from. And I've told people about where this has come from, and they laugh at me, and that's fine. I figure the end result will speak for itself. But for those of you who are feeling the brunt of this in your personal lives, in your professional lives, be you in the military and you've been told all these things about how bad Christians are and their belief, and the founding fathers and the Constitution, taking down the Constitution from Army billboards, in their company and training headquarters, the taking away the "Don't Tread on Me" flag from the Navy SEALs. Isn't this amazing? The elimination of good, and I use this in a relative term because I don't trust the military-industrial complex at any level right now, but there are generals out there who've tried to do the right thing and they're gone. The nuke generals that didn't want to follow along with whatever that false flag situation was, or giving these nuclear weapons to the shadow government, whatever's going on there. We just have to be aware that these things are happening. But the point that good people are being eliminated and accused of, oh, you're a Jesus follower, or, you have these weird ideas about right and wrong because you follow the scriptures and, whatever. Go read Matthew 5:11. I know a lot of you will be familiar with that. And no, I'm not going to read it. Like I said on that one video that I was giving scriptures, I'm not going to read it because I want you to, but go look at that. And if you have a Strong's Concordance, look up the word revile and see what it means. And you look at all the connotations of that. And it'll give you an idea about why these things are happening to you, because these things are coming out of the mouths of those who have lost the light of truth in their heart. And so they will turn and rend you. And that kind of follows the other warning of Jesus, don't throw your pearls before swine, because they will turn and rend you if you do that. So why do I speak these things here and allow myself to be rent? Well, it's probably coming to an end here fairly soon as far as me doing this, and I know I've said that before, but you only do these things for so long. They take a toll on you. And I don't know how Jesus did it for 3.5 years. It's pretty amazing, actually. So go read Matthew 5:11, and of course it goes along with a lot of other scriptures that would tell about this turning against the light of truth and demanding that we follow the new trendiness of the day. That's really the old Sodom and Gomorrah, etc., the old evil empires and all of that. So just be aware that is going to happen to us when we do this. But there's a lot of hope too, and Matthew 5 talks a lot about that hope as well. But I was talking to Brant Thornton today, and I want to give him credit for this. He says, Roy, it's rough times right now, but there are some good things coming. And he mentioned Isaiah 66. And great are the words of Isaiah, according to the man you know as Jesus, Yeshua, HaMashiach. And, Isaiah 66 is the last chapter of Isaiah. And you need to go read it about those who, are again, going along with Matthew 5:11, those who were made fun of and how they will be exonerated, vindicated in the end. Not that we're special because we're all saved by grace. I do believe that, even though we have to learn through experience to choose the right and wrong, to do as much good as we can, the good works. Yes, I do believe that. But in the end, we can't even save ourselves doing all that we could do. That doesn't relieve us of the responsibility to do all the good things we can do. But it's just to say that we do need to try. We need to have the experience. We need to be making the effort. And then by God's grace, we're lifted up. Go back to the Shroud of Turin. Yes, I do believe in a physical resurrection. What it actually entails, I don't know. But there has to be a reuniting of physical with the conscience, with the spirit. because that's a fullness of joy. And that's a mystery to a lot of people. It's certainly not in the Greek thought of old time. It was actually new at Jesus' time in some regards, not in others. I'm not going to go into the whole historical study. A good book to read on that is N.T. Wright's The Resurrection of the Son of God. It's a big, long book. You might need to keep a dictionary next to you. This guy is a Oxford scholar, Westminster Abbey kind of guy. But he's been around for a while. He's Anglican, I'm pretty sure. But he has a good handle on the historical perspective of things. And he was actually one of the people that his thoughts and his philosophy were one of the things I studied on this whole topic. So and it was nice to see that book here in the last little while. But getting back to Brand, he gave me this thing on Isaiah 66, and he's right, this is the great time of the division, and there are going to be those who really put down the values of the Spirit of truth, the Spirit of light, righteousness, again, meaning the right use of something, as compared to the wrong use of something. And whether you like it or not, there's a right use for things. As simple an explanation as a screwdriver. It's meant to fit into the head of a screw and to be able to tighten or to loosen that. It's really not used as a hammer. It's not a very good knife. That's really the idea. Everything has its right use as opposed to its wrong use, and that's really what righteousness means. So even though you might be able to do something, although you can do something, it doesn't really mean that you should. And the Bible in particular has been a very good thermometer of what right use of things are. And I'm not saying that it's the only spiritual system that has done that, but it's certainly one of the best. Not saying that there aren't problems with it, but I'm not going to go there in this philosophy today. Those of you who know me, who have read some of my works, will know that I question some of that. But the basic message in the Judeo-Christian tradition is very good. One of the best, if not the best. When you apply all of the parameters, it takes in a lot. So go read Isaiah 66, go read Matthew 5:11. I'm sorry this has been a little longer than I anticipated. I don't know when I'll be making another video. It's been, 3 weeks, maybe almost 4 since I did last one, 3 weeks. Not real excited about being out there much longer. There's a lot going on that needs to be done besides just talking, trying to get ready in other ways. So I'll just leave it at that. And there's probably something I wanted to say that I'd forgotten about. But I'll be back again probably when those things come back to mind. In the meantime, strive to obtain the spirit of life, the spirit of light, the spirit of truth and love. And part of that is, of course, whether you choose liberty and life or slavery and death. And again, liberty doesn't mean that you can do the things that are lascivious or debauchery. And again, that gets back to the right use and the wrong use of things. Sorry I'm dwelling on that. Okay, I'll talk to you again later.